Josh Bell is still on fire with his new team, the Miami Marlins. Graham Ashcraft has been dominating over his last 10 starts. Join us today as we talk about must-add players heading into this weekend on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we are your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Arne. You can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Arne. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. Also, if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It subscribes you to the channel, also gives you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, but most importantly, subscribe to us on the Subtext website. Through Subtext, it's a one-on-one, in-depth, personalized experience through text messaging where you get instant alerts for prospect call-ups, injury updates, and much, much more than we can offer in this 30-minute episode. And guys, real quick, today's episode is brought to you by Bunches. Download the Bunches app today, and when you do, our friends at Bunches have featured the Locked On MLB Bunch in the Discover tab. You can also click the link in the description or show notes to join the Locked On MLB Bunch community today. And Locked On Fantasy Baseball fans, we have a fully loaded episode for you today. As always, let us be your team secret weapon as we provide you with the best must-add players heading into this upcoming weekend. And Matt, we got quite a few good ones here. Playoffs are coming soon, so you guys don't want to miss out on some of these players. Who is up first?
All right, let's talk about the guy you mentioned at the top there, Mr. Josh Bell. I swear to God, the ball kind of just gets like, how do I put this? Like a little burn mark, and it leaves the park every time for the last 2 weeks. 6 bombs over the last 2 weeks, 12 runs, 9 ribs, batting .311. The dude is just deciding to tear things up, and I'm loving it. I mean, quite honestly, 56% owned right now. Everybody should be riding this wave. If you're in a, what do you call it? A real life, like good setting baseball league where, next week's your last week to make before the playoffs, you really want to add Josh Bell and ride this hot hand all the way to the end here so that you're not, left in the dust, not making the playoffs, not clinching or not getting first. So, and catching that bye. So Josh Bell can help you accomplish those goals. So definitely add Josh Bell.
Yeah, man, I'm actually going to vibe off of what you said because that was some great advice. This is the time of year where you don't want to sit around and wait and be like, oh, well, this guy has upside, or, well, I think he's going to turn it around. I mean, as Matt said, if you're playing in, how we believe fantasy baseball should be played, where the playoffs start, the week after next week, you ride the hot hand, you juice the orange, you just ride the wave, you get rid of the as one of our friends used today, trimming the fat. I like that term. You get rid of the guys that, are really doing nothing, that aren't helping your fantasy team. And you pick up somebody like Josh Bell in his last 19 games, all with Miami. He has 72 at-bats, 15 runs, 3 doubles, 7 homers, 12 RBIs, and he's batting .306. Josh Bell has shown us that he could be fantasy relevant quite a few times in the past, including that monster 37 home run season in 2019. He reminds me of a Kyle Schwarber type. I don't think the batting average is going to hold up, but he's definitely got a lot of power. But let's move on to this next guy. We talked about, Henry Davis has gone down and, you might be looking for a replacement for him. Let's talk about Yainer Diaz, the catcher / first baseman for Houston. I'm going to throw out one caveat here. He's been playing a lot of late, but Jose Abreu is expected to be back, and Yainer has been playing a lot of first for them. So I'm not sure, if he's going to be playing as consistently as he has been, but you know what? Yainer has been playing great while he's been out there. On the year, 37 runs, 18 home homers, 45 RBIs, a 281 batting average in 278 at-bats. I mean, that power certainly plays because 18 home runs and 278 at-bats, I mean, that's a lot of pop, a lot of pop for the kid Yainer. And I mean, he's had like a pretty solid minor league career where he's always hit around 300. He's shown off that pop before. So I just really think it's, once again, that ride the wave opportunity here with Yainer while he's hot. And this might be like a real deal type of thing because the numbers in the minors really show that track record. The plate discipline isn't fantastic. 6 walks to 55 strikeouts. So in the points leagues, you might not, get as crazy amount of points, but in a 5x5, category league, he's definitely going to be good. So that's my thoughts on Yainer Diaz, 48% owned on Yahoo.
Yeah, I mean, Diaz is solid in single catcher leagues and 2 catcher leagues. He's probably already owned and rostered.
Yeah, definitely.
But this is a single catcher situation. He's going to be the ad. But essentially what I'm getting at is you can stream this position for the rest of the season. Ride the hot hand. The second you start seeing them die off just a smidge, move on to the next hot hand. This is the position where you can easily stream, as long as guys are hot. I mean, MJ Melendez is probably still out there too if he hasn't hit too high. So you can
I think his ownership has skyrocketed. I think it's like 7. Last time I checked, I think it was like 72%, but I'll double check that.
Yeah. So like between him, Melendez, and there's a couple other catches out there. Just ride the wave. We're going to keep trying to provide them at least 1 or 2 a week just so that you guys can kind of stream the position going into the playoffs. So you're getting production from every single position on your roster, not just whatever it's catcher. No, like this is the time where you need every single counting stat humanly possible. So Diaz can get that job done for you. But let's move on.
I hit the nail on the head. 72% on Yahoo for MJ Melendez.
Look at you with no life.
This is what I do, brother. This is what I do.
All right, let's move on here. Let's talk about Mr. Adam Duvall. He's been hot, like hot. 4 runs, 3 bombs, 9 ribs, 308 batting average over the last 2 weeks. Even over the last month, 6 bombs, 12 ribs, 10 runs, batting 250. Like he's on fire right now. This week alone is 3 runs, 2 bombs, 4 ribs, 320. Boston's looking nice and primed to make a little run ski. But it's not going to mean much for them. But, hey, if they're moving and grooving, they got a lot of dudes that they need to keep rolling. Duvall can, really, be a nice infusion of counting stats to your teams to help you, make the playoff, clinch that spot, and, hopefully get you that bye. So Duvall is definitely a must-add at this point. Ride that wave until the wheels fall off and then drop him like he's hot.
Yeah, Matt, great take on Duvall. This guy was like a house on fire through April and March. He had it was only 8 games, but he was hitting 455 with 4 homers, 14 RBIs. He was looking monstrous, 5 doubles even. And he really had slowed down since then. He did have the injury. He fractured a bone in his left wrist. So I think maybe he was still, trying to ramp back up and get to where he is. Another guy of that Josh Bell mold where, he's got a lot of power. The batting average probably isn't going to be great. But Boston has been decent, and they're going to, get him some RBIs, some runs. He's even chipped in 4 steals already this season, Duvall. Wouldn't expect too many more, but hey, if he's chipping in a steal every once in a while, as Matt said, this is a guy you can kind of ride that hot hand into the playoffs with and drop him when, he slows down and the next big thing is available. Adam Duvall, 22% owned. Before we talk about another catcher that's been absolutely on fire, and then, I teased at the top of the episode, Graham Ashcraft has been great. We got a couple of young pitchers that have been dominating, and somebody that has returned from the IL, and I like what he's shown so far. I need to talk to you guys about one of our newest sponsors, Bunches. So Locked On Fantasy Baseball fans, once again, I have to tell you about this new app called Bunches. Bunches is a new app built just for sports fans where you can chat sports in real time. Click the link in the show notes or description to join the app, or just go to the Apple App Store and download Bunches now. I'm telling you, you're going to love the conversations with other Locked On sports fans on Bunches. It's a new social media type app where, it's made for just sports fans to, connect with one another. Our friends at Bunches have featured the Locked On MLB Bunch group in the Discover tab. Once again, you can also click the link in the description or show notes to join the Locked On MLB Bunch community today. And dear everydayers and new listeners, we have an incredible opportunity for you to support the show and enjoy some fantastic perks along the way. Introducing our Diamonds Club on the Subtext website. By becoming a member, you not only contribute to the show's success, but also gain access to exclusive benefits, get your hands on waiver wire rankings, call-up alerts, injury updates, instant reactions, and enjoy direct access to us for all of your burning fantasy baseball questions. Plus, you can try it out completely free for 14 days. Your support means the world to Matt and I, and we can't wait to connect with you on this exciting journey. Join our Diamonds Club on the Subtext website today, and let's take your fantasy baseball experience to new heights. And guys, we're getting, to the end of, the road here as far as, getting that opportunity to join our listener league or get a chance to join our listener league for next year. We're going to do a little raffle with everybody that is in the Subtext group at the time of September 1st. So if you're in there at September 1st, you get that, coveted opportunity to join us in our listener league next year. And guys, come play with the pros, show us what you got. And it's just another way to connect with all of you guys and, get to, talk fantasy baseball. And what Matt threw out last week when we talked, or the other day when we talked about this, I love the sense of you get to see how Matt and I operate a fantasy baseball team. Matt and I have been very successful in fantasy baseball over the years, and you kind of see, what players we're picking up, the way that we're constructing our rosters, and it will just be very helpful for you guys to be in a league with us. But that's enough about that. Matt, why don't you grab this next guy?
Yeah, it's Mr. Keibert Ruiz. I said his name right. Keibert. Sorry. He's been good. I mean, counting stats are decent. Over the last 2 weeks, my guy's got 9 runs, 3 bombs, 9 ribs, batting .366. Obviously, my rule off the waiver wire, batting average off the waiver wire, is a must add. He's doing that right out of your catcher spot and then giving you some counting stats. Washington has been low key, just beating teams and playing up to the talent level that they're playing. So Ruiz is just stepping in there and following the same suit. So 100% this dude needs to be added. I don't know how long this is going to last, but it's been going on for a month. So there's a good chance this could be a trend that maybe could take us out to the end of the season. I like Ruiz as a whole, so I don't mind adding him whatsoever.
Yeah, Keibert Ruiz was actually a highly, highly touted prospect. He's been in the minor league system since he's 16 years old, going all the way back to 2015 with the Dodgers, and he's just always hit. The power is something that, we eventually expected to come along, and it's been decent this year with 15 homers through 105 games so far. And the spot he has room to improve in is the batting average, because he's always hit for average in the minors. He's had some really high batting averages, and we've just been waiting for this kid to put everything together. And it looks like it's starting to happen here in Washington. He's been hitting in the middle of that order recently. I know it's not a great team, but you know what? Hitting third or fourth in any lineup is going to give you that opportunity to drive in runs and also be driven in by the guys behind you. And as I said, this guy can contribute in batting average very, very well. Matt read you off those numbers of recent, which he's been, absolutely doing. So Ruiz at 61% owned is kind of high, but I just wanted to throw him out there. I probably would take him over Yainer Diaz, who I'm not sure how much he's going to be playing in that lineup. But if Ruiz is out there in your league and we need a catcher, this is a guy that definitely can be consistent through the end of the season. Let's move on to another player that kind of has come a little out of nowhere this year, and it's Jake Burger. I mean, this dude just been raking. He's really just been strong. The last 30 days, 14 runs, 6 homers, 16 RBIs, 337 batting average, over 89 at bats. He's 47% owned out there, third baseman for Miami. In case you're not familiar with Burger. Another guy been hitting 4th, 5th in that lineup for Miami, which has been, a bit better of late. Just can't really say too much about him except I think it's a ride the wave type of thing. I don't know how impactful Jake Burger is going to be in the long term. I know there's not a lot of season left. So you know what? Just I'd say ride the wave with Jake Burger, 6'2", 230. So he's got that, big man body. He's 27 years old. He did come over from the White Sox when Miami was making some moves over there towards the trade deadline. And, it's really all I got on Burger, to be honest with you. I think it's just a kind of ride the hot hand with him.
Yeah, absolutely. The Happy Meal over here, Jake Burger, has made Miami fans very happy because this was the type of bat they needed to add. So Jake Burger for real baseball aspect. I think it's just a great ad by Miami. And I think it'll be a great ad for your roster and riding that hot hand. Great takedown. But I'm going to move on here. Let's move into some pitching. Let's talk about Mr. Graham Ashcraft. He's been a master of his craft this, last couple weeks. Sorry for all these word puns, but you know what?
I'm going to start calling you the nickname whisperer, bro. I know you've been called the pitching whisperer, but I'm going to start calling you the nickname whisperer. You've been on fire with the nicknames this year, brother.
Thank you, man. I pride myself on being a wordsmith.
You are indeed, my friend.
But since Mr. Ashcraft's return from the injury list and just dealing with just subpar performance, I feel like he's bounced back, figured it out, and this last month has been great. 40 innings pitched, 2 wins, 34 Ks, 2.68 ERA, 102 WHIP. He's been good. Like even his last start was 7 innings, 10 Ks against the Angels. Not a real dangerous lineup, but he still pitched through Ohtani. Still managed to make it around. Even Trout's now back in that lineup for that game. So Ashcraft is going out there and handled himself. 48% owned. I think you should be adding him at this point. Pitching market is pretty rough on this waiver wire. Quite honestly, like outside of like two other names out of the 5 names we're going to talk about, like Graham Ashcraft is probably one of my biggest targets here, outside of probably the guy last on the list. So I'm looking at Graham Ashcraft. I'm looking at his upside. I'm looking at what he started off the season doing, and I'm looking at how he's going to finish. And I like him for the rest of the year. Honestly, I think Graham Ashcraft could be somebody you're holding on all the way through the championship round if you make it that far. So definitely add Graham Ashcraft.
Yeah, Matt, I'm liking what I see from Ashcraft. I wasn't huge on him last year when he had, some decent starts. Didn't really show too much consistency last year. But besides a few blow up starts this year, he had an 8-run start where he gave up 8 runs. He had a start where he gave up 10 runs, a start where he gave up 6 runs. Other than that, he's been really good, and I want to highlight Ashcraft's last 10 starts specifically. Over Ashcraft's last 10 starts, he has 65 innings pitched, 48 strikeouts, a 2.35 ERA. Batters are hitting 217 against him, and the whip is like a 105 type whip. So he's been very good over that time period. And as Matt said, I think you're going to just ride the wave with this guy. I believe if I, was looking correctly, the Cincinnati Reds have pretty good matchups over the next few weeks. I'm going to pull up who's Ashcraft's next start is against. I believe when I checked earlier, it was a pretty good one for him, but let me just double check for you. So, okay, it's Arizona. Arizona's not, as easy as a matchup as it was, last year or a couple years ago. But after that, yeah, he has a couple of tough ones actually up next too. So this is going to be some proving grounds for Ashcraft. Arizona and then the Cubs, 2 teams that have been playing better of late, especially that Cubs lineup, man. They've looked really, really good of late. So with Ashcraft, if he can go out there against these 2 teams and keep doing what he's doing, then I'll, fully believe. But at 48% owned, if you're really desperate for some pitching, you could take the, ride with Ashcraft. And before, we move on and talk about some other starting pitchers, as I mentioned, we got a couple of young guns that have been going off. And then we have one of my boys who just came off of the IL. Before we talk about them, I'm going to pass it off to my brother Matt for a quick ad break.
All right. Sleeper is a fantasy sport and real money gaming app focused on bringing people together through sports and gaming. Sleeper has become the fastest organically growing fantasy platform in the world with over 5 million active users in 2022. Also, my favorite fantasy sports platform. They need to get baseball, Sleeper. At Sleeper, it's not about sports. It's about building personal connections and lasting memories. Sleeper Picks is our real money product that connects friends over picks. Choose 2 to 8 of your favorite players from pre-games live, or even across different sports. Pick higher or lower, the over-under, then predicted stats. Only Sleeper can get you 100 times payout. That's phenomenal. Share with your friends and get rewarded together. Use the promo code LOCKEDON, and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions may apply. See Sleeper's terms and use for details. Currently operating in over 30 states. Check out Sleeper today. Download this app, guys. Seriously, going into the playoffs, they get first first notifications for all kinds of stuff related to baseball. Football's around the corner. They're phenomenal with injuries and, roster movements and things like that. So you can go and add people instantly. Download Sleeper today. All right. That was awesome. I'm loving it. So let's move on here. Dom, take it away.
So let's talk about Ryan Pepiot real quick. Big 6'3", 215-pound pitcher from the Dodgers. He did come up last year for a little bit, and he actually looked pretty decent in his time in the bigs last year with 9 games played, 7 starts, 3.47 ERA, 36 innings, 42 strikeouts. The whip was high at a 1.45, but a young kid trying to adjust to the majors. Sometimes you see that control is one of the last things to come about. He dealt with a few different injuries this year. The numbers in the minors don't really reflect how good of a pitcher I think he can be. Because 3.97 ERA across 6 starts, 22 innings, 26 strikeouts, but the whip was actually better this year in the minors at a 1.14. The guy's upside, I'll show you. Back in 2022 in the minors, he had 9 wins, 1 loss across 17 starts, 2.56 ERA, 91 innings, 114 strikeouts, 107 whip. So, Pepiot he's not like a higher end prospect, but there was some buzz around the kid, over, last few years. He's 26. So it's kind of like, getting to that make or break point, like, hey, put this kid in the big league rotation and see what he's got. So I think Pepiot is somebody you want to just at least give the shot on your roster and see where it goes with him. As you're listening to this, he's going to be starting on Thursday against the Guardians, which is a great first, matchup. Him returning. He did have 1 start already this year, I believe. It was 5 innings, 5 strikeouts, gave up 1 run, 0.8 whip. So it did look pretty good. Let's see who his next start's going to be after that. So we'll give you an idea of how that's going to look for him. Another guy that gets Arizona. So you know what? That's not an easy matchup, but it's a matchup where he might be able to get something done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, and then it's the Atlanta Braves. So another guy that's got a tough couple of matchups here, but if Pepiot can get through those successfully, forget about it. Then the sky is the limit for the kid. So I think Ryan Pepiot is at least somebody you're going to want to at least check out for now. Did I throw out his ownership percentage at 7%? I don't know if I did or if I didn't, but 7% went for Pepiot. So very widely available.
Yeah, I mean, Pepiot is somebody I'm not afraid to roll out on a really nice fluffy matchup where, like, okay, he's going up against like Oakland, for instance, or the losing Yankees at this point. It's sad that I could even say that. It's been ugly.
Yeah, they suck.
Yeah. But other than that, like, I don't know if I trust him against real strong teams, in all honesty. Pepiot has been very inconsistent through his minor league career. His first time he went in 2021 over 100 innings pitched, he had a 4.62 ERA. In 2022, he had 91. He had a 2.56 ERA, which was great. But then the year after, he follows it up with when he gets to the bigs, and he couldn't really handle himself all that well, other than the fact that my guy was able to bring it down to a 3.47 ERA after a couple bad starts. Pepiot is just a mixed bag of tricks for me. I want to kind of figure him out and see what he's going to do before I can say, hey, you have the reins in your matchup proof. He's going to be a guy I'm going to be adding and dropping depending on what his matchup is, and I'm not going to care if somebody else gets him. So, just take a look, play the matchups, and, stream him essentially. But let's move on here. Let's talk about Mr. Cole Ragans. He's been interesting. Strikeout machine as of late, too. So this last month, he's got 29 innings pitched to 44 Ks. And he has like a 2.6 ERA. Like the whip is a little high on the month. Like it's at like 130, 135, which I'm not thrilled about. He's walking everybody under the sun. But I mean, with a guy that's getting those strikeout numbers, keeping low ERA, I'm really excited for it. The only thing is, I don't know. Again, he's like in the Pepiot position where I don't know if I'm rolling him out against like really strong matchups, but middle of the pack matchup, obviously the fluffy lower end matchups, I'll roll him out there. Raking just, I don't know if I'm feeling great unless the team is slumping. Essentially, I got to really look into the matchup if I'm willing to start him against a stronger team. But The upside for Reagan is obviously strikeouts, based off of what he did tonight, 11 Ks, and the wins potential being that he's on that on the Rangers. So I just,
Went to the Royals.
oh my god, that
Yeah,
hat always gets me.
he started the year with Texas, but
Yeah.
then he went over to the Royals.
I apologize, guys. The hat always gets me. I do it all the time, and I own them in every league. But the Royals. So the Royals give him a little less of a win upside, but essentially, the way they've been playing recently, who knows? I like Reagan. I like the opportunity, and yeah, Ed.
Yeah, I like Ragans too for now. And then, see, unlike our last couple of guys, he actually has some decent upcoming matchups. He gets the Pirates on the 29th, and then he should see the White Sox on September 4th or September 5th. So some cushy matchups here for Ragans. And I think it looks like the Royals have unlocked something in this kid. He's still only 25 years old. Through his 5 starts with Kansas City, 2.51 ERA, 28 innings, 36 strikeouts. And as Matt mentioned, the whip's a little high at a 1.36. So that control is usually, when guys have that breakout, control is one of those last things that come along. If you look at a Blake Snell or a Shane McClanahan, guys that, had big strikeout potential, that, the whip was the last thing to, really start to translate for them. Even somebody like Snell this year, his whip is still a little bit high, but he's been fantastic everywhere else. Who knows? Maybe Cole Ragans follows in that same type of, thing, but he's never really a highly touted guy. So if he does start to fall apart, if those next 2 cushy matchups don't go good for him, I wouldn't really be afraid to drop him. But at 35% owned for Ragans, I really think you need to go out and add him, at least see where these next 2 starts go, because of the upside he's shown over, his time with the Royals is definitely at least worth an add for Cole Ragans. Let's move on to somebody else. We've talked about this guy before, and he's been a little up and down, and he's back on the upstretch. It's Seth Lugo. So Seth Lugo, man, he's looked just decent all year long at this point. His last couple of starts have been pretty strong as well. On August 18th, Seth Lugo went out against Arizona, pitched 6 innings, gave up 0 runs, had 9 strikeouts. Whip was a little high at a 1.33. And then on the 23rd against Miami, 6 innings, got the win. 4 strikeouts, no earned, and an 0.67 whip for Seth Lugo. On the year, numbers aren't blowing you away, but they're serviceable. 103 innings, 103 strikeouts, 4 wins, 3.92 ERA, 1.26 whips. Once again, Seth Lugo here, and he's actually been pretty serviceable through his whole career. I know you hear the name Seth Lugo, and if you've been around for a while, you're like, yeah, I know Seth Lugo. He's kind of he's all right, but his career numbers are impressive to me. 36 wins, 30 losses, 3.55 ERA, 598 innings, 611 Ks, and a 1.18 whip, and a career 3.67 FIP. So I mean, Seth Lugo's just good. You can't really knock the guy. He is 42% owned on Yahoo, so there's a decent. He's available in over half of the Yahoo leagues out there. Once again, I like to check the matchups for you guys. He gets St. Louis, which has kind of been all right, kind of here or there type matchup. And then after that, it looks like he gets San Francisco, which is a decent matchup as well. San Francisco is a decent team, but they're not really blowing anybody away. So I would take Seth Lugo at least for those next couple of matchups and ride the wave. Once again, playoff time, ride the hot hand. Seth Lugo's hot. Take him.
Yeah, great take, Dom. I'm just gonna move on here. Let's talk about Mr. Bryan Woo. Woo has been interesting. He's had some really brilliant starts, and then he's had some not so brilliant starts. He's a mixed bag of tricks. I like what he's doing since he's been back with this one start against the White Sox, but it's only about 4 innings pitched. I like to see more from him at 22% owned. I don't know if I'm running out there and added him. I will also note that he's at his career high in terms of innings, I believe. Let me see. Let me double check. Yeah, career high. So, I want to point that out there that, hey, we might be seeing some fatigue where, I might only roll him out against, a fluffier matchup is what I like to call it. The tougher matchups, it's more of a wait and see, prove it deal. Woo has all the upside in the world. I mean, if he wants to take it to that next level and just be that guy, I would love to see that. I think it's in him, but I don't know if it's this year, being that, I think fatigue might set in, and it's already proven that he gets banged up a little bit too. So we'll see how long Mr. Woo is going to be valuable and productive for fantasy, and how long they keep him in the rotation and not see if they don't move him into the bullpen just based off of his inning limits and how he's performing with fatigue.
Yeah, Matt, you're 100% right as far as the innings go. Bryan Woo is getting, he's well over his career high from last year in the minors. He's about 45 innings over, so I don't know what the leash is here with Seattle. But I'll tell you this, I really love Bryan Woo as a pitcher. He's got a strong fastball. Breaking stuff is pretty good. I know we don't really talk advanced stats here too much, but a page that I like to use, if you are an advanced stat guy, if I like to use Baseball Savant, and Baseball Savant has like a little little thing in the corner where it kind of shows you some of these advanced stats, and all of Bryan Woo's underlying advanced stats look fantastic. So there is a lot of upside here for the 6'2", 205-pound 23-year-old. He's been up and down, as Matt mentioned, but this is a guy next year I'm gonna be a sleeper pick for me in a lot of leagues. He gets Oakland in his next start on the 28th. After that, I think it's the Mets on September 3rd. So 2 nice upcoming matchups here for Bryan Woo. Honestly, if the Seattle just lets him throw, he's one of my favorite pickups for today out of all of the pitchers we talked about. 22% owned for Bryan Woo. Absolutely love the kid. But guys, Matt, anything else before we head out?
No, let's do this thing, baby.
All right, guys, that is all for us today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Also, shout out to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And be sure to look out for a new episode tomorrow, folks. But until then, see you.
Peace.